Good morning, Nigeria. As usual, TVC has got a finger on the pulse and our eyes constantly on the streets. And we do our best to bring you trending stories from across the globe and in Nigeria in order to have some decent and interesting dialogue about them. In our first story, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has released the results of the 2025 UTME resit that was held for students that were affected by technical issues during the first exam. Now, out of 336,000 students of the rescheduled candidates, about 21,000 of them were absent. And JAMB says that over 3,000 results were cancelled due to exam malpractice. The board also revealed that 71% of those who wrote the resit scored below 200, with very few scoring up to 217. However, several students online have come forward saying that their scores were much higher during the resit examinations than JAMB is actually reporting. And this, of course, raises questions about the board's latest claims and figures. Let's take a look at social media. This is Alex Onya, and he is the CEO of a company called Educare. And when the first results came out and there was a mass failure, he took it upon himself to actually pursue litigation on behalf of these students and really held JAMB by their throat, if I must say. And this is him coming online to sort of celebrate the victory. He says, "It is now clearly obvious that this is the best JAMB results in 2017. That's since the last 9 years. From the worst results a few weeks ago to the best few weeks later. I saw it, I knew it, and I was right." And he posted figures to back that claim up. At Kaylee says, "My brother scored 156 in the JAMB examination that had the glitch, in quotes. I watched my very happy and playful brother become sad. Well, he just checked his result today and he got 253. So how is JAMB saying that over 70% of them scored below 200 on the ground? Several students are saying we scored higher than 200. Yusuf Ademola says, "I got 152 at first. With a little preparation, now I got 278. Interesting. And this is Alex Onya again. He says, "The Guardian intentionally misrepresented facts. 99% of them scored less than 200 in the cancelled results. This generation of Nigerian students are very brilliant, even with all the distractions available. This year's results is the best in 9 years. The LAG cluster, that's the southeastern states and Lagos, from the recent results published, are by far the top performing states in the country." It would be great to see JAMB come out and corroborate these claims and say, indeed, the students are right, because right now they are opposing one another. The students and JAMB are having very, very different results and outcomes. In our next story, popular socialite and nightlife entrepreneur, Cubana Chief Priest, is once again the talk of the internet, and this time for kneeling before both the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Vice President Kashim Shettima during a recent visit to the presidential villa. The gesture is a gesture of respect that is rooted in our culture, and it was warmly received in the moment by the president. But of course, there were several divided opinions online. Some people saw it as a harmless cultural courtesy, while other people saw it as over-the-top and sycophantic. As the images made the rounds on social media, the debate swelled on whether this was just tradition or does it say something deeper about politics, power, celebrity, and how we show respect in Nigeria. Let's take a look at social media. As a Yoruba girl myself, I kneel a lot. Achima says, "No other place in this world do you see this subservient attitude towards public office holders." And we'll take another tweet. Adlajide says, "When you know how to wash hands with elders, you can dine with them. Well done, High Priest. Just ignore those online grandmasters. Give it all to get what you want." Very interesting. Team, what do you make of this? I mean, he is a grown man that is kneeling, but he is kneeling before the president. And not just that, we are African. A lot of our greeting is rooted in courtesy and kneeling. What do you make of this? I'm curious.
Culturally, people will criticize him for doing that because he is an Igbo man. The Igbos do not genuflex. They don't go down on their knees to show respect. They might bow their heads, shake you with both hands, but go down on your knees. But he's a businessman, and it's not every day you go see Mr. President and the Vice President in one room. So I can understand what he did. But that's me understanding. What about the other people? Okay, and the JAMB story, we talked about it earlier, so I don't think there's any real importance for me to talk about it.
All right, talking about Cubana Chief Priest, if you want to even represent the Yoruba culture, you lay flat on the floor to, you know, show courtesy to an elder. But I guess there are obstructions to him doing that, and then he decided to go on his knees. So, well, it's good for him. He knows why he's doing that. So anybody can say whatever they like. He knows why he is doing what he did. And then for the WAEC, the disparities between the students saying one thing and then the reports we are getting, it's quite sad. It still goes to show the gap in terms of communication and trust deficit at the end of the day. But I hope that JAMB has learned its lessons and it can build on how to move forward from here.
I'll start with JAMB. JAMB, they need to do better. We need to trust them, so they need to do better, because we already spoke about it, you know, in the show. But now let me move to Cubana Chief Priest. Olamide, and I'll say this thing. When I saw people bashing him on social media, I really do not really get it, because honestly speaking, we talk about Nigeria being the most populated country in Africa, and this president, the #1 man in Nigeria, of course you would kneel. Like, if I see the president, I would kneel to greet him. So I don't understand. Maybe it's because of the Igbo culture, but I don't see anything wrong in what Cubana did. He could not have stood to greet the president. So the best thing, like Veronica has said, he could have either laid down, dobale, how they call it, or kneel. And he knelt down. And I feel like that was the right thing to do. He showed respect to the #1 man in Nigeria. Fair enough, you know.
Period.
Yeah, for JAMB, I think for me, I feel what JAMB has said is, you know, still within. Those who said they scored higher than that, it was just 71% of them that didn't do well when it comes to the result that had been released. But the thing is, we need to test ourselves. We need to ask ourselves the question, is JAMB asking the questions that ought to be asked, or the questions that they were taught in school? So there is it's still a work in progress, and I feel there is so much left to be desired. And for President, have we not seen President Tinubu, whenever he saw or met with President Muhammad Buhari, as the president at the time, he would always stoop to greet him. Each time he met people that were older than him, whether by virtue of office or anything, he was always stooping to greet them. So it's no big deal. It's an African thing. It's a Yoruba thing. So if Cubana Chief Priest, whether a Yoruba or an Igbo, he was greeting a Yoruba man, and he knew how to, you know, endear himself to, you know, such man. Of course, he's a man of honor. So absolutely, if you are genuflected, it's just okay. Absolutely.
When in Rome, do like the Romans. But this makes me think about the kind of characteristics that we ascribe to manhood. Because this was a woman, it would be normal. I'm bending down like that, but hey.
Yeah, but people always want to talk, you know us. You know.
Of course. In our next story, a Nigerian influencer is urging women to consider ovarian egg freezing. Well, lately, egg freezing is no longer a futuristic concept. It is here and it's sparking conversations online. As more women choose to delay motherhood for personal or professional reasons, the idea of preserving fertility is gaining traction. But is Nigerian society ready for this mechanism? A popular influencer and entrepreneur, Ifedayo Agoro, is going viral after urging women to consider freezing their eggs, and the reactions online are mixed. But take a look at what she had to say.
If you're over 30 and you're single, please go and freeze your eggs. I don't mean the eggs that chicken lay, I mean the eggs that your ovaries produce every month. Go and freeze it. This was me at 38 years old, injecting myself during my egg freezing process, like a fake nurse. For me to get quality eggs, we had to do it twice. Before you scroll away, wait first. God is still on the throne, but he also gave us signs. Try your best not to listen to Nigerian aunties though. They will tell you, leave it to God. They will also tell you, don't forget your eggs are getting old. Aunties, I beg, choose a struggle. Choose a struggle. As you're praying and fasting, help me to be branching at the fertility clinic. You get, let's balance these things. Some of you will say, Ife, man.
Meanwhile, another side of this egg debacle is unfolding. A growing number of young Nigerian women are now selling their eggs for money, reportedly earning between 150,000 naira and 800,000 naira, helping other women conceive while navigating their own economic realities. But as science creates more choices for our women, are we doing enough to ensure that these choices are safe, informed, and free from economic pressure? Now, studies actually show that women in Western states like America and in the first world, they donate for altruistic reasons. They genuinely want to help women who are struggling to conceive, oftentimes for free or even for a lesser fee. But studies are showing that women in Africa who actually donate their eggs are doing so because of economic pressure and financial motivations. Now, I love the fact that this gives women the autonomy and the agency over their bodies, but are they well informed on what it takes to donate an egg. Luckily, it doesn't have any long-lasting side effects, but I think that this sort of dialogue is very, very important as we navigate modern womanhood and modern family units. Let's take a look at social media. Ad Nelson says, as a woman frees her eggs for quality, easy birth and procreation assurance, so are the chances of getting married declines. Instead of freezing your eggs, why not lower your standards and get yourself a husband? That is cheaper. Nelson. As Udeme says, that is not just advice. It is a pragmatic reality check. If you're over 30 and single and you want kids someday, freezing your eggs is not some desperate moves. It is just smart planning. Biology has a timeline, and ignoring it is genuinely naive. It is an investment in your future choices, a way to take control instead of crossing your fingers and hoping for a miracle when your fertility starts to decline. I love how it was mostly men that chimed in on these conversations who don't have ovaries or uteruses. Moving on in our next story. Once a national hero in the ring, a former Nigerian boxing champion, Prince Bob Alagoro, is now battling life outside it, homeless and struggling to survive. In a viral video that's being shared online, Alagoro revealed that he now squats in a friend's house after being unable to afford basic rent and agency fees. The same man who once held the West African title and represented Nigeria across borders now lives in quiet desperation. He proudly recalled his glory days, an unbeaten streak between 1984 and 1986, 11 professional bouts, a Nigerian national championship, and a memorable win in Burkina Faso. But decades of service to the sport and the nation, including 19 years as a public servant, appear to have left him with nothing. Take a brief look at what he looks like these days.
Amateur champion, and I represent Lagos State 1981 for national championship, and this fight take up in Benin City, and I won a gold medal to become Nigerian national amateur champion 1981. And Naipost, I worked with Naipost for 29 years, retired. I'm a pensioner. When Naipost do their national championship 1982 at Kaduna, I went there, I won gold medal. Then when I come from there, Olympics 19...
I think that video was very sad, and it was very symbolic and poetic, if you ask me. A man who's lost everything but is still holding on to that national championship belt that he used to bring Nigeria to win something in championship. How many of our fallen heroes are we seeing clinging on to past glory and the dream of a one Nigeria?
It is sad to see something like that. But somebody told me some weeks, 2 weeks ago, that the investments you do when you're active will determine whether you play draft or you play golf later in life. You know, but if we can, let's give this man some helping hand. The egg freezing thing, I'm old school, so I won't subscribe to it.
Oh, well, that's what I want to touch on. I will suggest anyone who is at that age bracket and is yet to get married to freeze their eggs. It's expensive, but for lowering your standards just because you want to have kids, I would not subscribe to that. But if you can freeze your eggs, that'll be good. Quickly. Yeah.
God forbid lowering standards. I agree with Veronica. Amen. I would rather freeze my eggs than lower my standards. And yeah, I'm still not up to 30 yet, so there's time.
Well, let's speak to what the government is doing for our national heroes. For Nigerians, I think there should always be this financial safety net for everyone. Whether you're a national hero, whether you're just an ordinary citizen, there should be that thing that whenever you grow old or you get into something, you have something to fall back to, so that you won't have to be in the jaws of poverty. It's happening everywhere in the world. Even the UK is now debating child poverty, the two-child policy thing and all of that. So there is so much that we need to do as government and as a people.
Absolutely. There's so much that has to be done, and I hope that Nigerians can still rally round and help Alagoro to at least enjoy life before he passes on. Thank you so much, Olamide, for the stories. Welcome. And this is where we have to wrap things up for the program for today. Let's let you know that the views and reactions of all our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with the TVC News. Up next is Your View with the ladies, and afterwards this morning with Yori Folarin. Stay safe. Bye.